two, one. We're live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. I hope everyone is good because this is going to be a long one, probably. We're going to try to keep it sharp, keep it going, but there's a ton of news this week. Obviously, Tesla earnings contributed a lot to that, but there was the Shanghai Motor Show, too, a bunch of EV unveilings that we want to get into on that. Also, a few very good-looking ones, a few very interesting ones. So stay tuned for that. At the end, we're going to have a couple of slideshow for you to judge. But we're going to start with the Tesla earnings because believe it or not, Tesla is still the biggest EV automaker out there, and they deploy more volume than anybody else. So it's important to track them. And their earnings is also important because the fact that they can deliver electric vehicles profitably shows the rest of the industry that it's possible and that they should work towards that. But before the earnings this week, there was something also very interesting, which was a big price cut. So nothing new for Tesla in 2023. 2021, 2022 was just price increases. Boom, reversal of the roles in 2023. Big price cut early in the year, a few price adjustment over the last few months, and now another big wave of price cut this week for Model 3 and Model Y. So Model 3, the base version, went from $42,000 to $40,000 now. So it's the lowest it has been since I think 3 years now. So it's a big price cut, and the other models haven't changed much or at all, actually. Well, I mean, the Model 3 long range is still not available for order in the US for some reason. It's really weird. Model 3 performance to the same price. So one of the reasons for this price cut here has to do most likely with the fact that in the US it lost half of the federal tax credit. So it looks like Tesla is trying to compensate with that. Still has the half of it, then $3,750. Model Y pricing, significant $3,000 decrease for every single trim. Even the new one, but relatively new one, the Model Y all-wheel drive with 4680 cells, went from $50,000 to $47,000. $50,000 now for the Model Y long range. That's a very good deal. I think that's the cheapest that's ever been. Model Y performance, $54,000. And important to note that all three of those models still get the full $7,500 tax credit in the US. So the Model Y now is easily an under $40,000 car, which is...
Yeah, and I mean, with the tax credit, it's under 30,000. Starts under 30,000. Sorry, it starts under 40,000.
Yeah. And in some states, it's like closer to like 35,000 that it starts now. So... Model S and X did not get a price change in that wave, but overnight, it did get a price increase of $2,500 for every single trim. But it also came with 3 years of free supercharging added for new buyers. So this is pretty straightforward. I think Tesla just realized that at that price point, which is like more expensive, and they have received significant price decrease over the last 3 or 4 months too. So it's not like this $2,500 doesn't change much compared to like what people were paying last year, over $100,000 for a Model S long range. Now it's $85,000. But yeah, it went up $2,500, and that 3 years of supercharging is probably more valuable for people in that price range than the $2,500. So people are basically paying $2,500 for 3 years of free supercharging, which is actually a bad deal for most people, I think.
Yeah, most people won't use that unless you're an Uber driver.
Yeah, unless you're an Uber driver or unless you're just like traveling the country all the time for some reason. So
a salesperson or something.
Yeah, in that case, yes, but you have to do like 50% of your charging maybe with supercharger, which is not the typical use case for.
That's a lot of sitting at a supercharger station.
That too. All right, so now let's jump into the earnings and all the news that came from the earnings. So we identified the expectation for the earnings. That was $23.6 billion in sales revenue and earnings of 85 cents per share. Now, the result were $23.3 billion in revenue, so a slight miss on the expectation in terms of revenue, $300 million, nothing too crazy. well, it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot in perspective. And they met expectation with a non-GAAP earnings of 85 cents per share. When you look at the actual financial results from Tesla, like again, the two big ones are revenue and earnings, and the sort of met expectation on both. The stock ended up crashing, and it's not exactly clear why. Because obviously, the big thing was the people were looking at the gross margins, how much the gross margin were affected in the first quarter of the year, following all those price cuts. And Tesla came at 19.3% gross margin, which is significantly down for the mid to low 20s that they were getting before that, but it's higher than most people expected. So most people put the range between 15 and 20. So 19.3 is at the upper hand of that range. But I was expecting anything over 15% gross margin retained after those price cuts to be pretty good. What it means now is that it's likely going to be over 15% this quarter following the additional price cuts. So it leaves Tesla room to absorb these additional price cuts that happened over the last few weeks, really. But the market was not impressed, and Tesla stock was down 10% yesterday following the first market opening following the earnings. Tesla still had an 11% operating margin, which is industry leading. They had contributed more cash to their cash position, which is now over $22 billion. So everything like on paper looks very good. But just I think maybe not enough like big news came out of it. And I think the one thing that I thought was interesting is like they tried to justify those price cuts in the earnings shareholder letter, and the way that they did it, it's sort of people don't believe them. They don't like. They made it sound like, oh, it's not necessarily about demand. Even though during the call Elon made it clear it was about demand. They even said like, oh, we're looking at every day how many orders coming in, how much production is coming out, and we're adjusting to that in order to have demand match production. That's it. So it's about demand creation, which always is. Pricing is always about that. Like you're gonna sell a product for as much as you can in a certain market. And yes, there's a bunch of factors right now out of Tesla's control affecting that demand, especially the interest rate and the general macroeconomics that people have some concerns, and that sometimes blocks them from making large purchases like a car. That's completely fair. But then Tesla was like, we basically took the decision, I'm paraphrasing what they said there, we took the decision to not necessarily sell cars at a higher profit, but instead deliver as many cars as we can at the best price we can. Which is technically true. That's what they did. But then they said so that we can build up a fleet where we can extract more profit out of it. Basically,
right.
That's what they said. So I'm going to read the shareholder letter here, the specific comments, so that we're clear. In the current macroeconomic environment, we see this year as a unique opportunity for Tesla, as many car makers are working through challenges with the unique economics of their EV programs. That's okay, unit economics. I read it unique in my head. I thought that was like a nice slide from Tesla. Unique meaning negative gross margin. Anyway, we aim to leverage our position as a cost leader. So you see, like the way they say it like that, it almost make it sounds like they want the price war. But Elon was clear about that was not the goal.
I agree.
That sounds like we know we can absorb those costs. We know they can, so we're doing it. That sounds like that. But then anyway, they continue. We are focused on rapidly growing production, investment in autonomy, and vehicle software are remaining on track with our growth investment. Those last two here are what's important. Although we implemented price reduction on many vehicle models across regions in the first quarter, our operating margin reduced at a manageable rate. That's true. We expect ongoing cost reduction of our vehicle. Costs did go down last quarter, so that's good too, including improved production efficiency in our newest factories and lower logistical costs, and remain focused on operating leverage as we scale. So these last two here, autonomy and vehicle software, Elon sort of clarified that comment on the call after, saying that he strongly believes that Tesla is going to be able to make money by selling subscription service to software, like the what's it called, the premium connectivity that Tesla offers right now. And obviously the big one is full self driving, which is a $15,000 software add-on basically. And they even talked a little bit about service, making some money on, this is an additional comment that was in the shareholder letter. On near-term pricing strategy, consider a long-term view on per-vehicle profitability given the potential lifetime value of a Tesla vehicle through autonomy, supercharging, connectivity, and service. We expect that our product pricing will continue to evolve upwards or downward depending on the number of factors, the main one being demand. I added the last part here because they've been very good throughout the earnings to navigate all around that. Like it's not about demand basically, even though at times they had to say it. But yeah, this is a kind of a change of strategy from. I mean, if you've been following Tesla closely, you've seen that change slowly happen over time. But if you just rewind back like 3 years behind or something like that, you fast forward to today, you would be, oh, this is like a big change in strategy with Tesla, where they plan to make money supercharging. Wasn't the case before. Connectivity, they never said they wouldn't do that, but they kind of creeped in on Tesla owner. Service, that was a big no-no for a long time. Tesla, we're not making money on service. We're making money selling cars, not servicing them, because what's the best service set?
Not needing any.
Yeah, no service is the best service. So yeah, I mean, this is a big change. Did you see that one coming?
No. I'd wonder if they mean a different type of service, like, instead of no, you're not going to give me that one.
Did you listen to the call after? No, so in the call, like some people like noted that, and Elon started and he had a good point, to be fair. Like I sort of knew about it, but I didn't know what the percentage were, so I went back and checked. He said like one of the big advantage of the legacy automakers is that they already have a large existing fleet of vehicles that they make money selling parts, like overpriced parts to. It's because we always identify Tesla's advantage of owning its own service versus a third-party dealership as being a big one for Tesla, where other automakers just didn't get any revenue from those services. But what we didn't notice is that they basically have a monopoly on customers, on those dealerships, to sell them parts, and often they are overpriced parts. Right. So yeah, he was right that the automakers make a ton of money off of that. And obviously you have a big advantage of selling cars for decades prior. So you have a giant user base, a customer base that you can affect. Tesla doesn't have that, but it's starting to now. It has a fleets in the millions, and it looks like it's an opportunity that they cannot pass on.
Right. Yeah. And the cars are not, I wouldn't say terribly reliable. The drivetrain works pretty well, but things like doors and fun stuff like that need repair.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it looks like Tesla is identifying that as a potential source of more revenue. And yeah,
I mean, I remember Elon standing up in front of an audience saying, "We will never charge money for service," or something like that.
Well, never try to make a profit off of service.
Right.
Yeah, and the same thing for supercharger, but though at the same time, the supercharger equation started to change once you started adding non-Tesla vehicles to the fleet.
That's a big one.
So that's sort of fair at this point, even though...
Although there's only 10 of those.
Yeah, there's only 10, and yeah, I think Tesla is slowly introducing the fact that they're going to try to make money off of Tesla owners on that front too. I think that's inevitable also. So yeah. So this whole I think the market like didn't absorb these changes super well right now, and obviously the big one, and Elon said that again, and that's one of the posts I'm going to get into. It's
full autonomy.
Yeah, the full autonomy one
this year.
Yeah, he again made the mistake of saying that it's going to happen this year, and then he called it full autonomy. So that's my biggest concern with this whole thing now, is that we don't even know what he means anymore. Like the goal itself is not clear. So what is full autonomy? Is it feature complete? Is it feature complete safer than human? And what does that look like for a customer? Because we don't really know. Based on FSD beta, if it's just about like getting FSD beta better to the point it's better than human. There is some value in that, but it's all related to safety. Really, it's all related to like the if I drive the car on top of FSD beta is driving the car, yeah, I admit it's the more FSD beta gets better, the safer it's gonna be. But Tesla didn't sell millions of vehicles by promising people that the car would be safer than anybody else. It helped for some. Absolutely, safety is a big factor in car purchase decision making. But let's be honest, they sold those cars by people thinking, some people, obviously, not everyone believed that, but some people thinking that your car eventually you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to get a notification on your app that says that you have a new Tesla software update. And then you're going to download the Tesla software update, and magically your car is going to start driving by itself, going to be able to drive you to work. Then once you're at work, and this is thing that Tesla literally said here, and Elon himself, you're going to be able to go to work and your car's going to be able to leave and do a Uber-like taxi service while you're at work, and then pick you up at the end of the night, and you just made some money on top of your work day. Like, this is literally things that Elon said, and then he even attached to that the famous what was the term we said about he's going to gain in value?
Appreciating asset.
Yeah, the car is now an appreciating asset. Thank you, said. So yeah, there's that famous comment that hasn't really lived to didn't age very well so far, because the value of Tesla used vehicles is crashing. Well, with a lot of other used vehicles, to be fair. So yeah, I think this is the biggest issue, and why Tesla stock went down, because why Tesla stock rose insanely over the last few years is because Tesla is selling a ton of vehicles, more than anybody else when it comes to all electric vehicles in volume, at a very high gross margin. Now Tesla is showing a willingness to cut down on those gross margin, which is completely fine. But when you come out and you give the reason, is like, one of the main reasons why we're so willing to cut down on those costs is that because we're very confident that we're going to be able to deliver full autonomy, and that's going to create a ton of value. And now Elon always says, like, hey, the market doesn't understand how much value is going to create. The market completely understand that. What we don't believe is the capacity for him to deliver on those promises with FSD beta getting to full self-driving. So now I think the market is a little bit more concerned about, okay, well, this is a weird approach. Like, we understand the need to cut down on gross margin right now to sell more cars, but if your plan is that, not everyone is on board. So I think that's one of the main reasons where we saw Tesla stock crash yesterday. But that's one thing. There was a lot of other things that are very good about the earnings. One of them was that energy storage deployment. That was insane. 360% up year over year. Tesla had a huge quarter with 3.9 gigawatt hour of deployment. That's almost double the last quarter. So 360% year over year, but double last quarter almost. Obviously, if you follow Electrek closely, you knew that was kind of coming, because we reported that the Megafactory in Lathrop was ramping up production a lot faster than a lot of the people anticipated, because that thing just went online last year. So it's pretty crazy that it went so fast. But yeah, and then you have obviously Shanghai. That's another 40 gigawatt hour factory per year. So yeah, you look at that deployment rate here. It's I don't know if you see this little curve, but it's a pretty big one.
Hockey stick.
Yeah, it's gonna keep going like that. Obviously, the quarter to quarter, you have to be careful, because these are huge projects. So the deployment is when they actually are installed. So sometimes it's going to go down a little bit, sometimes it's going to shoot up like crazy, like it was this quarter. Solar deployment was not very high, though, but it looks like it's less and less of a focus for Tesla. We got a big update on 4680 cell, and that's thanks to Drew Baglino, Senior VP of Engineering at Tesla. He went into like great details. I won't go into everything, because it's going to be a crazy long show if we do. Like, he literally had like, look at this is a big post that I released today, and I went into all the details. But the summary of it basically is that great progress on 4680 cells themselves, especially production in Texas. More equipment is being deployed. CATL factory going to start producing this year. next year for Corpus Christi, and which is the lithium factory, the lithium processing factory, and yeah, everything is looking good basically for a ramp up of 4680 cells in Texas for volume production of Cybertruck next year. Speaking of Cybertruck, we got some updates on that front. So Tesla did say that more equipment is being deployed for tooling of the factory line. The pilot production line is deployed, and they released some pictures of it, which is nice. This one is an interesting one where you see the body. First time Tesla released an official picture of the body of the truck, and a lot of people are noting that it's pretty clear from the body that Tesla is using a very loose definition of the word exoskeleton when they talk about it. Like it's looking more and more like a very kind of normal vehicle chassis with bigger casting part, and the fact that the outside is going to be stainless steel. So I guess that's more unique, even though it's not completely unique, considering there was the DeLorean and whatnot. But the exoskeleton, because the normal definition of exoskeleton is that you have the outside part or the structural skeleton of the vehicle. You have the body here, and we don't see a lot of outside part right now. Kind of obvious.
Also from this, you notice the guy's carrying a
scuba tank.
Yeah,
for the air suspension.
Pressurized. Is it for the air suspension or
maybe?
Those aren't cold thrusters, right?
Maybe there's a Roadster right behind this. See it.
Right.
Maybe the Roadster. This is going to be a surprise. The Roadster production line is being built on the same production line as the Cybertruck. So here another picture. You see the
Rivian
giant
has things, where and other trucks have a thing where you can inflate, air compressor built in. Maybe that's part of it. Yeah. Maybe you can inflate the tires a little bit, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a surprise feature for Cybertruck. We see someone installing the giant windshield that you have on the Cybertruck here. And the last picture is like an overall view of the production line with all the robots that are going to build the Cybertruck. All at Gigafactory, Texas. And also a picture of the Cybertruck winter testing. So that's a good news too, because we know that winter testing is one of the very last thing that Tesla does. So last minute thing that it doesn't include anything that comes with a design to make it better for winter driving. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it has been one of the digs that people have done at Tesla. That's very much of a, well, we cannot say that anymore. That's a California company that make a California car, but the Texas company. It's maybe a little bit tougher winter sometimes in Texas. Then Elon went out. Well, so in the shareholder letter, there was the mention of the Cybertruck did not go into great details about timing other than later this year. And that's technically, that could match the same that was said before, which was to start the production in the summer. But then Elon went into a little bit more detail on the call after, where he mentioned a delivery event, an handover delivery event, end of the third quarter. So that would put the event in September, or even probably likely end of September. So Tesla would be looking here at the first delivery of the Cybertruck around September, so a little bit later than this summer. So what we expect is like there's going to be a slow start of production this summer. Tesla's going to test those vehicles a lot, drive them internally and whatnot. And then delivery event in September. Historically, if we look at other Tesla program, it would mean likely just a few vehicle delivered mostly to internal people at Tesla, employees, board members, and whatnot. And then from there, again, a lot more employee deliveries over the next few months, ramping up to a few thousand units. Like, again, I'm basing this basically on the Model Y RAM. This is the most recent one that we had. And then at this point, I would not expect an actual customer, an outside Tesla customer, to get a Cybertruck until sometimes in Q1 2024, based on that updated timeline here. and then a production ramp throughout 2024, volume production likely in the summer of 2024. That makes a little bit more sense to me. Model Y, this didn't actually Tesla sort of confirmed it for the US and for China and for, no, actually not China, but for some European markets. But I think it's worth noting, because even though we just laughed at Elon Musk for his prediction on the full self-driving, you have to give the guy credit for this prediction, because when he made it back in 2016, he said that the Model Y would have between 500,000 and 1 million units of demand per year, roughly. That alone, people were laughing at him, because Tesla was just producing like 100, like I think he just reached about 100,000 units or something like that. So a lot of people saw that was not possible, but then he went as far after that to say that it will actually be over 1 million units, and the Model Y will likely be, will certainly be the highest revenue vehicle in the world, which it was last year, but it will be the best-selling vehicle in the world per unit, period. And based on the data that we gathered for the first quarter, it is on the path to do that this year in 2023, to be the best-selling vehicle worldwide. It was the best-selling non-pickup truck in the US this year. So it sold more than the RAV4 from Toyota and the Nissan Rogue and all that were really popular in the US. It sold a little bit less than the Chevy Silverado and Ford F-150 Lightning. Not Lightning, sorry, it's just F-150 period. But in terms of passenger cars, it was the best-selling in the US. It was the best-selling too in China, which is also impressive, the two biggest automotive markets, and a bunch of European markets too. So if it keeps going like that, it's going to likely be the Toyota Corolla as the best-selling passenger car in the world this year. So that would be quite an achievement for the first electric vehicles to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive, but it's also important to note that Tesla has like two mass market cars, where Toyota's got 20 cars and GM's got 20 cars and Ford has a couple cars. So, whatever.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that like more people that want to buy Tesla are going to have to buy this car, specifically.
Right.
Yeah. But at the same time, so yeah, if you look at the brand, like obviously these brands sends a lot more vehicles total because they have more models too.
Right.
All right. Tesla sort of unveiled like 2 new models this week, but they are for specific markets only. So the Model 3, with more range, really. It's a long-range rear-wheel drive. So it's basically a comeback here of because normally the Model 3 long range is only available in all-wheel drive. You have a standard range battery pack that is available in rear-wheel drive, but now Tesla has put the rear-wheel drive with the long-range battery pack but only for the UK market right now, and not only for the UK market, but only for businesses in the UK market. So commercial use, but not necessarily. Well, it doesn't have to be. No, I'm not talking like taxi services and like that, but it has to be bought through a business. That's what I'm saying. And it ends up with a range of 394 miles on a single charge, which is pretty wild. That's WLTP too, but the WLTP and EPA standard have started getting closer, so that would probably be like a 370 or something miles range on the EPA standard. So pretty wild. Starting price of 47,000 pounds. So it's a little bit cheaper than, I mean, in USD, it's 58,000 USD, but I think that includes the taxes in the UK, not in the US.
Do you think they got like a couple big orders in the UK for that particular model?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of incentive in the UK for buying an electric vehicle through a business. The what they call the BIC, like the benefit in kind tax that they get in the UK. It normally for a car, it's between 20 and 37%, depending on the car. It's capped at 2% for electric vehicles. So yeah, but that doesn't necessarily explain the specific model. So yeah, you might be right. There might be a specific company that went for it and they did that. We know that Uber is buying a lot of cars, electric cars in the UK to make their service completely electric soon in the UK. So maybe something like that happen. I don't know. And they wanted like a longer range vehicle, and they don't need all-wheel drive that much. I don't think like they have a winter in the UK, but it's not that wild, right? They don't have
Yeah, it doesn't snow that often.
yeah, so you don't really need all-wheel drive there, unless
Right.
you live in the country and you have like dirt roads and whatnot. But other than that, so yeah, this is a very interesting move here. And then today, it's not in the podcast post because I actually wrote the article after I wrote the podcast post. But Tesla also, well, this is an existing model that just sort of made a comeback. The Model Y rear-wheel drive with standard range. So we're not talking like in the US now. You have the 4680 Model Y, which is sort of a standard range, but actually longer range because actually the structural battery pack is not exactly the same capacity as the 2170 cell standard range pack. But yeah, um, so this model also is aimed at incentives again. So the Model Y rear-wheel drive as a as a range of, well, this is Canada, so it's 394 kilometers, 245 miles, the equivalent. So it's about 30 miles. Oh no, just 4 miles shorter than. No, it's 2079 or 279 or 249. The 4680 Model Y. I don't remember. Let me check right now, real quick. 279. So yeah, okay, it's about 30 miles shorter than the 4681. Also, it has again rear-wheel drive rather than all-wheel drive. Like there's no rear-wheel drive right now available in the US, so it's a model just for Canada. And the thing is, bring the price under $60,000. So, well, basically $60,000. And what that does is, on top of the federal incentive, $5,000 Canadian incentive that's available throughout Canada, which is available for both, was already available for the Model Y long range too, but it wasn't reaching the threshold for the Quebec incentive, which is even higher at $7,000. So now this specific model is available. You get both of them in Quebec. So that's $12,000 discount. So the car basically starts at $48,000, which is starting to make a lot more sense. So the $48,000 is the equivalent of $35,000 USD. So
Wow.
this is about the same price as the base Model Y was in the state with all-wheel drive, which is very rare that we have the same price in the US, especially again with incentive on both sides here I'm talking about. So yeah, this is a big addition that's gonna likely just result in a big boost in our orders in Quebec. And the rest of Canada, I think, also will enjoy it because it's just less expensive to start with. And if you only had access to 5,000, it's the same thing basically. All right, let me go back to the podcast post. We have a few more Tesla articles to discuss. No, one more. The trip planner. So this is a cool one that makes you think, like, why wasn't there already? But Tesla's trip planner is making its way to the mobile app now. So if you just downloaded a new update that came out yesterday on your on iOS or Android, now when you go to the location tab on the mobile app, you can search for location and you can have the car not have the, but you can plan a route to that location instead of just looking for charger. Normally it was for two things, that location tab. It was for knowing where your car was if you didn't know for whatever reason, and to look for a charging station around it. But now you can plan a route, including with charging stops. So in this case, to test out, I put the Empire State Building from my place in Shawinigan, and it plans the route for you like it does in the car. So in the car, you have that feature where it tells you your charging stop. So like stop at Plattsburgh and have 7%, charge it up for 24 minutes. Stop at Albany, charge supercharger, and so on. And then you can edit those location. You can edit those stop and everything, which is nice. And then the nicest of all is you can send that to the car. So that means you can now plan your trip from outside your vehicle and then send it to the car. You just come into your car and it's already, it knows where it's going. So Some people are saying, "Oh, this is in preparation for Tesla being full self-driving, and you're going to be able to tell your car to go somewhere from the app and whatnot." This is useful right now. Basically, if like you don't have to go into your car to plan your trip, you can just be sitting at the dining table with your family when you're planning a road trip, and you're like, "All right, let's do this, let's do that," and then you send it to the car and you're done. And I think that's more of the goal than full self-driving.
Yeah, that's weird that people think that that's coming this year.
Well, if you're Elon, you truly believe it. That's it for Tesla news this week. We have a bunch of other news to discuss, so we're going to jump into that. But I want to remind you that we'll probably have for another like 30 minutes or so. The show's probably going to run a little bit late, but we're going to have some time to get into your questions. So you can put your questions right now in the comment section right now. We're going to get to them in a few minutes. We already have a bunch, though. So if you want to put your question, put them right now because probably going to maybe not have time to go through them all. All right, Rivian did the obvious. We knew it was coming. Actually, we were surprised that it wasn't announced earlier, but the CEO, RJ Scaringe, confirmed that they're going to follow up Tesla's move to open up their charger, the DC fast charging network, because their Waypoint network was already open to non-Rivian vehicles. But now they're going to do the same with the Adventure network, which is the name of their DC fast charging network, which right now is I think last time I checked, I don't know if we commented on this here. I don't think we did. I think they have like 24 station max right now, so it's not a big deal. But obviously, if they do reach their goal of 600 stations and 3,500 DC fast charger in the US, it's going to be more significant. And also, they aim to have location more in like that. That's why it's called the Adventure Network, in location that like enable like off-road riding and things like that. So it could be interesting. And obviously, they have the big advantage over Tesla that they don't need like a magic dock solution or anything like that. They already use the CCS adapter. So and they have relatively long cables too, which is nice.
Hmm.
This is a good picture. Like you have never seen that many charging at once at the actual Rivian charging station.
And obviously, Teslas with the CCS adapter can charge there as well.
Yeah, Rivian can do both now. All right, the Polestar 4 was unveiled as an SUV coupe, and without rear windows. I don't know what that's about, but the vehicle itself looks sharp. It looks like a little squished down Porsche Cayenne a little bit to me. So it was unveiled at Shanghai Auto Show, like we discussed earlier. Here are some specs: 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, thanks to a 400 kilowatt dual motor drivetrain. There's going to be a single motor configuration too, where you lose half the power. 0 to 16 7.4 for that, which is nothing to bark at. A range of up to 300 miles. Now we're gonna have to be careful with that. Like it is so when they announce something in China, we don't know if they're talking about the Chinese driving cycle standard, which is a little bit lax, but at the same time they're talking about the range battery pack of up to 102 kilowatt hours. So I feel like you should, even though the Polestars are not known to be the most efficient vehicles out there, I feel like you should be able to get EPA range of over 300 miles with that, with a vehicle of that size. And do we have the size of it too? I'm gonna look into that. DC fast charging of 200 kilowatts, which is more than decent. 5 to 80% in 32 minutes, also very decent.
Yep.
Up to 22 kilowatt AC fast charging, that's also very good. Though I would assume that it's going to be optional, like a dual charger option, because I think most people are not going to want that necessarily because you won't use the 22 that often.
I know in some different markets they have, like in Europe, they have the 3-phase
Yeah,
AC. So
yeah, it is going to be an option, I would assume. Otherwise, it's overkill for the North American market. I know I have it on my original Model S. Like I have the dual charger, but never. I think I used it.
you have the 80 amp charger?
Yeah, but
Interesting.
like I think I used it like 2 or 3 times max. Like it's some level 2 station happens to have it, but it's very rare. The Parks Canada, like when you go to National Parks Canada, sometimes they have a lot of Tesla level 2 chargers there, and sometimes they have it up to is it? I don't know if it's 22 the 80 amps. Is it add up 22 kilowatts? Pretty close, I think.
I think it's closer to 20, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Bidirectional charging, so that's basically a must now for new electric vehicles coming to market.
Yep.
All right, the dimensions here. So it sits between the Polestar 2 and the new 3. Yeah, the 3 is a bigger SUV.
Which makes 0 sense, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it's really just about when they come out. Right. It's clear at this point that the naming scheme is like the Polestar 18. That's going to be one that's going to come out in 2030, right. And it's 2 inches shorter in each dimension than the 3. So okay, so it's not that much smaller than the 3. 2 or 3 inches taller than the 3. Oh no, okay. The 2 or 3 inches taller. Okay, we're comparing it both to the 3 and the 2 at the same time. Here it's a bit confusing. 2 or 3 inches and wider than the 2, and 10 inches longer than the 2. Okay. Yeah, sorry, it's a little bit confusing though, but they call it the D segment, so an SUV coupé. Yeah, you look at this angle, it's hard to see the SUV. It looks more like a sedan from this angle.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like a Polestar 2 a lot.
A little bit more refined than the Polestar 2,
right.
I think. A little bit less muscle car. Like the Polestar 2, like if you just you squint for a second, it looks almost like a muscle car sometimes. This is a little bit more elegant design, I feel like. All right. Do we have anything else noteworthy to discuss about those? So here's the lack of rear window. I guess, I mean, everyone uses the rear camera view these days, so it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna make people feel claustrophobic a little bit in the back. I don't know.
Yeah. So I have a problem with this. Like, I understand, like, if you have a design that makes the rear window small or hard to see or whatever, using a camera back there. But this one, it looks like they just made it solid for no reason. Like that piece above where the window should be could just be a window. It's like they did it
specifically
just to do it, right? Like, why not just make that glass?
Yeah, especially I would like to see the trunk open for some reason right now, because is this just the trunk that opens? Is this or this part too?
Not sure.
Because if it's just this part, yeah, there's no excuse, I feel like. But like, so okay, this is the Polestar explanations. Is Polestar said that this camera enables greater rear visibility for the driver, since instead of looking through a small aperture of the rear window, the camera can offer. That's fair. Like, yeah, as long as your camera is clean. As long as the camera is clean. But this one is on top. Yeah, so it's gonna be a lot better.
I mean, that's fine. Like, a lot of cars have rear cameras, that by the license plate or whatever. And being on top is better for sure, but like, it just seems like this was done for no reason. And like, if you're going to do a really good camera, it doesn't mean you have to remove the window. You can have both.
Yeah, hard to argue against that. Do we have pricing and timing?
$60K.
Yeah, 60. Okay. So yeah, okay. No official North American pricing just yet, but the range should be around starting at $60,000. I think they previously said like $60,000 to $80,000 is going to be the price range for it. 2024, so it's coming next year. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at Polestar. I think Polestar is.
Yeah, they've got a distinctive look.
Yeah, they are carving themselves a nice little piece of the market right now. Like 50,000 or so units delivered last year. I think they're aiming for 80,000 this year. They are not making them profitably just yet, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on that, obviously. But they're gonna have to turn this around. But they're not too far from it, and of course they're backed by Geely involved. Well, Volvo, Geely, same thing now. One thing that I like about Polestar on that front is that they're already all electric right now. There was the Polestar 1 thing that doesn't exist anymore, so it's
Right.
okay. I'm over it. I thought it was weird at first. Like it sort of. I didn't see Polestar as seriously because of the way that they launched with the Polestar 1, obviously, but I'm over it now. I like them. Um, but what I like is like because they're all electric now, all the whole lineup is electric, and it's officially a separate company than Volvo and Geely now, and even on the stock market and everything. I think that when the market shift is going to happen, which I think is going to happen in the next 2 years, where people, only a small fraction of people are even going to consider buying a new car that's not electric. Everyone else is going to know that your next car is going to be all electric. It's going to put a ton of pressure on Geely's other companies, where they are like, okay, now we need to completely phase out our internal combustion engine vehicles programs. And I think that's going to be very good for Polestar, because like Polestar is going to be that like Geely's savior, basically, where they already are the all electric one. So they're going to shift everything on Polestar, I think. So
Yeah, I mean, Volvo has plans to be all electric by 2030.
yeah,
I think.
Volvo is one of the most aggressive. You're right, but still, Geely is way bigger than Volvo
Right.
and Polestar. All right, so we talked a little bit about it, the ID.7 from Volkswagen last week because of a leak in China, but now it was fully unveiled this week at the auto show. So a range, a WLTP range of 435 miles. So that's very nice, especially considering, again, like I said earlier, the WLTP. Now I'm getting some doubt, though. Is it really WLTP, or is it the Chinese standard? And we might have made a mistake here, but if it's really WLTP, this is very nice. But for some reason, as I said it, I got a little bit of a doubt. But you remember that set? You had that set to the embargo
Yeah, if you
one?
go down a little bit, WLTP it says
Yeah,
435.
it seems high a little bit to me.
Yeah, I mean they've
I
got
mean,
a big battery and a really
82
uh,
kilowatt. This is a big car set.
ooh, yeah, that's true.
We're gonna
Well,
get back to you on that, because
yeah,
I mean we're saying a WLTP here, but I just want to be sure we're not hyping it a little
I mean
bit
it's
too
got a
much.
it's got a low drag coefficient,
Mhm.
very low power motor,
Oh, wait a minute. So the European one has a bigger battery pack?
a little bit bigger, not
Yeah. Well, 91, because they're using, Volkswagen is big on that now. They released the gross and the
right.
net after the buffer. So 91 kilowatt hour. I'm starting to believe a little bit more, 400 miles range, but even then, this is a big car.
Yep.
73-inch wide, 195 inches long. This is a full size sedan.
Yeah, it's like the Passat.
Yeah. But 0.23 of a drag coefficient. It is quite aerodynamic. Not as aerodynamic as like a Model S, but we're getting pretty close.
Yep.
Um,
And with a very low power motor, maybe you can get the efficiency up.
yeah, because like here we said, although the EPA range will be lower, it will be mid to high 300 miles range. Yeah, with an 82 kilowatt hour battery pack
They
at
have
this size.
86.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would say low 300 miles range more than high.
right.
Maybe. I don't know. Especially like Volkswagen is known for using a big battery buffer. Not, but they have reduced that over the years. Now it's a 5 kilowatt battery buffer. Yeah, it's not too bad. Maybe.
Yeah, and just
107. Yeah, said.
just design wise, it's pretty generic. Like
Yeah,
it's not amazing. They originally showed this thing with like that paint that changed
white paint.
color
Yeah. Oh yeah,
uh, to try to make it interesting. Inside, it's very sedan-y. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad or ugly. It's
it's a
just like
clean look inside though. It's a
yeah,
clean look. Yeah.
it's a very nice vehicle inside and out. It's
Not too
just not
busy.
interesting. It's not very interesting, I guess I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah, it's nothing crazy. Um, they have aerial wheels too. I'm building up to the idea. 170 kilowatt charging, not crazy. Normally, I like to see over 200 kilowatts.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, Volkswagen is as always focused on getting that charge curve not bending so quickly
Right.
after achieving the peak. So maybe if they can maintain that 170 for longer, I'd be happy with it. So something to keep an eye on. Yeah, they have a big infotainment system in there. Um, anything other mentioning? Launching in North America next year.
Oh yeah, 10 to 80% in 25 minutes. That's pretty speedy.
Mm-hmm.
So that charging curve must be pretty good.
Yeah. We don't have any pricing on this yet, but you can expect it's going to be top of the line of the ID lineup from Volkswagen. So looking at like what the higher end ID.4, probably going to be around that starting price, I would assume.
Yep.
All right, now we're going to go very high-end people, starting with BMW unveiling the new i7 M70. So it's the new top-of-the-line i7. Let's go through it real quick. Over 300 miles of range, 31-inch theater screen. Almost looks like a Rolls Royce if you just hide the front of it for a second. Almost look
Especially
like
with that two-tone.
Yeah. What else? 660 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. That's using the launch mode or the M Sport Boost. For those who don't know, M is like the performance sub brand of BMW. I don't know if you call that a sub brand.
Almost like just a moniker.
Yeah. Just short of 102 kilowatt hour of usable energy capacity. Usable, okay, so it might be an even bigger battery pack too. That's starting to get significant. 300 and yeah, you see, like this is about the size of the ID.7 here, bigger battery pack, and they're talking about 303 to 348 miles of WLTP range. Obviously, it's a lot more powerful of a powertrain. So if you using that sport-like driving performance, that makes that number go down versus the 435 miles discussed of the ID.4, but still. Yeah, this is the new top of the line BMW electric car you can buy, basically.
Yep.
No, we don't have any pictures of the interior. I love the BMW interior. No, okay.
Doesn't look like it.
Staying in the super luxury segment, we have a Mercedes-Maybach. So this is the EQS 680 SUV. So it's the did you drive? You drove the EQE SUV.
Yeah, the EQE is nice, but not nearly this nice.
Yeah, you drove the EQE AMG. So Maybach is like, is it above AMG or is it
It's above it.
AMG? Yeah, AMG is more performance oriented, though. I mean, Maybach is more luxury oriented. I think. Yeah. Okay. All right, what we got here? I mean, since it's more luxury oriented, I don't think that they're gonna change the spec that much. It's more gonna be about the packing it with luxurious features. So there's a mini fridge in there and things like that, like literally. So it's a two. Yeah, the configuration changed too. So it's a 2+2 now. So it's have the fifth seat.
Yeah, and the back kind of looks like a first class cabin in an airplane.
Yeah, let me see. I want to see. Yeah, the front looks similar with like the giant screen of Mercedes. So you see that in AQS and AQE too. The seats look like a little bit more comfortable. Okay, yeah, you have a slider here. Let me see. What is that? What am I even looking at right now?
It looks like a flux capacitor.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. This is holy moly. Look at that. Yeah. This
Don't
is
forget the champagne.
Yeah. The champagne glass.
Chilled
and everything.
Champagne with the fridge.
Yeah. I have a full screen in the back here. This is nice. Yeah. Another thing to add to the list of things I could never afford.
Right.
Speaking of, do we have the price on this thing?
It's if you have to ask.
Yeah, yeah, that you can afford. Um, the range also goes way down. No,
Yeah,
373 miles. Well, I thought it would go way down than that. Yeah, no pricing on it, but again, like Seth said,
I would guess like 300.
probably. Yeah. All right, going back from the higher end to a little bit more mid range. New BZ. That's sounds like Toyota is they're sticking with that naming scheme of two new electric. Those are concept vehicles though, so it's not as exciting, but they can basically preview what is going to come from the next few Toyota vehicles. But it's very early concepts. As you can see, the interior looks like nothing right now, nothing that
Right.
Toyota would bring to market, obviously. But the shape, this crossover one looks pretty good. Looks like maybe like a more aggressive Rav4. So whenever we actually get an electric Rav4, it's gonna probably look a little bit closer to that. Again, interior looks like nothing, and no specs, obviously, no specs just yet. But Toyota is showing us something electric a little bit. That's rare. We're gonna take it when it comes.
Yeah.
Um, CATL. So normally we don't always comment on those because there's always every week we get companies sending us press releases about their new battery that's going to change the game because it's super energy dense and blah blah blah. But the battery cells, they always have this thing where it's like you want them to be energy dense, you want this to have a longevity, and you want them to be able to be produced relatively cheaply. Also, I would add like fast charging to that you want to be able to fast charge them, but that kind of goes with the longevity. Like normally, like it's kind of a balance between the two. Um, but it's normally like you pick two like of those
Right.
situations. So you're having all of them, and also the one where the cost effective aspect of it is one of them too that a lot of companies they don't even know until they can produce them in high volume enough or pilot production and can ramp it up. So yeah, a lot of times we just don't report on them because they turn out to be nothing. In this case, we're talking about CATL here, which is literally now the biggest battery cell manufacturer in the world. So they have a lot of credibility, and they know what they're talking about here because they basically design a cell around energy density. So the other factors are not as important as energy density because it is literally aimed at the electric passenger planes market. So they want to have the battery that enables electric flight. Even though we're quite there already, we're like on the verge of it. But for like a plane like this, a full scale passenger plane like that, like 740, 747, whatever, you need about 500 watt hour per kilogram of energy density. That's a number that Elon came up with. Elon Musk has been saying for years that because he had a long time design for an electric plane, and he was like, I cannot use that until I have this battery cell from um, from CATL. And as CATL, if you know them, like they're serious about things, they unveil this thing and they're like, this is going to production this year. So they're not kidding around. Um, we don't have that much data beyond the energy density, but again, that is the focus of it. Um,
Yeah,
like
and you could see like the innovation here making its way to like super high performance cars as well, like
definitely, yeah.
Porsches, Ferraris.
Yeah, and because for the plane, the other aspects is not as important. Obviously, like but I mean longevity obviously is important, but um, not as important because I don't know what's the percentage cost of fuel in a airplane in the using an airplane, but it's extremely high. Like it's a big percentage of running an airplane. So if you can bring that slash that down, it's massive. It changed the whole economics of flying. So as soon as you can just replace that with electricity and you can get that electricity cheap, airport, like you can cover an airport and solar panels, um, and then get your electricity from there. And then the charging, the turnaround of a plane is not some depending on the flight is not super quick. So you can have some times to charge the batteries too. It's just one of the things to do when you turn around the plane. So it makes a lot of sense. Like everything made sense for electrifying planes, other than we just don't have the energy density of it. So now we're starting to get it. All right, that's it for all the news this week. Managed to get that right under an hour. Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Giving us some time to get you guys questions.
All right. So Elon said Cybertruck launch would be third quarter. When do we? Mitchell Clark asked, when do you predict a Cybertruck launch will be held? Probably pretty close to the end of quarter three. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. I know people are like, well, if Elon says Q3, then it has to be Q3 2024, whatever, like, because he's been wrong about our predictions. This is not one of those kind of predictions. It's a lot more easy to predict on Tesla's side. And I'm not going to pretend that I have more information than Elon on that front. Like, he knows the Cybertruck program a lot better than any of us. And it's not, and it sounds like he's being sort of careful about it, because I think Tesla is still looking at starting production this summer, but extremely low production. And normally there's a few months between the start of production and the first Hanover event. So it all adds up pretty quickly, pretty well, I think.
All right. Andrew C. question. Any word on dual motor Rivians being delivered to customers yet? I haven't heard of that. They're called the Enduro motors, and they're less expensive. And they're a little bit slower, and you can't do like torque turning. So, but honestly, if they drop my price a little bit, I would happily take two motors, since tank turns and stuff aren't really on the menu anymore.
And on top of your list, huh?
No. All right. Nick Cedar question. The Bolt, almost by accident, looks to have an easily replaceable battery. Does that indicate a longer potential vehicle lifespan compared to the more integrated batteries? I mean,
most EVs you can replace the battery. Like it's not like a Neo or something like that, where you have 2 minutes and you can change the battery automatically in a battery changing station. Like, you need to go to the garage and have professional work on it and everything, including the bolt. So I don't think that's going to have a big impact.
also, most cars won't outlast the batteries. If the battery lasts 10 years, which I think it will, I think a lot of cars are pretty bad shape after 10 years.
It depends on the owner.
Right. All right. Why long range and new long range rear wheel drive LFP Canada now qualifies for EV rebates, federal and provincial, starting today?
Yeah,
I think we covered that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about Elon. Nobody can believe he doubled down again, except it's really,
not that surprising.
Not that surprising. All right. V11 FSD beta is bearable now, but not autonomous. I've been hearing a lot of people say V11's is it an improvement?
I think it is an improvement, but it's still not to a level where I can see a clear path to actual full self-driving capability on it.
Right.
There's just too many things that it feels dumb at times. Like, it feels super smart at time, and then it feels super dumb. And that sounds human to me. Like, that sounds like, so sometimes humans, like, we act like it's like it's getting drunk. Like, that's one of the, ironically, because that's one of the things that full self-driving would fix, is like, it never gets drunk. Versus like humans, they get drunk, they get tired, there's a lot of things that affect
Angry.
us. They get
road rage.
Yeah, you road rage and things like that. So but sometimes it's not consistent. That's the weird thing of it. Like, the computer should be consistent, it's not. So it's like, oh, okay.
All right. When do you guys predict when YN3 will be only LFP? Well, I don't think the performance versions will be LFP anytime.
Or the long range version either.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's probably room to improve LFP still. Like, I'm not saying LFP is as attain its max level, but it's not going to be crazy improvement. So I think it's going to be a mix of around, like, probably like 60-70% of all vehicles, passenger vehicles, are going to be LFP, and then like 40-30% are going to be nickel based, manganese based chemistry. I think
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right. Dan Overstay says Cybertruck worker is carrying the suspension fluid reservoir. That's that
Yeah,
tube that or that
I'm gonna have to trust Dan on
tank.
that one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good source.
Hmm.
Question: how does the 4680 cell compare to CATL's condensed battery, which has we just talked about that, relating to the
Hmm.
current battery's density and how much kilowatt hours can fit in the same space? I think I saw that that 4680s were about half that, like 250 watt hours per kilogram, or maybe 300 at the top. And obviously Tesla's going to iterate that. You know anything about that?
Yeah, well, I think Tesla's 2170 were already around 250, creeping in on 300. 4680 might be less than that. I've never seen it, just the battery cell energy density. I think there's going to be a curve where like Tesla's still improving on the actual design, and once they reach like full volume production, it's going to be like the final design, well, or version one. I think we're still on like 0.6 or something like that of the 4680. So yeah, there's room to improvement there, but obviously you don't need 500 watt hours per kilogram for a passenger car. Well, like you said, maybe if you want to do like a crazy roadster at some point, something like that.
Yeah. All right, Richard Cool, what is the current take rated for FSD?
Elon was asked that during the conference call, actually, and he refused to answer. Um, we we obtained it once, like it's a highly guarded data at Tesla. We managed to obtain it once through a hacking leak that happened. That it wasn't even that information that leak. It's just that we were able to like put it together from that. And I think it was, if I remember, it was a long time ago. That was like 2019. I want to say something like that, and it was at like 15%. I think.
That sounds about right.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's still around that. Maybe the FSD beta convinced a little bit more people, but if it's over 20%, I'd be shocked.
All right. Any chance of Electrek Mastodon account anytime soon? We miss you over there. Well, guess what? We have one.
We have one, but are we posting on it?
Yeah, we have auto posting on it.
Oh yeah,
So
we have a little posting on it. Oh, that's cool.
it's very exciting over there. Come join us if you're on Mastodon. All right. When will the Model 3 long range all wheel drive or rear wheel drive be available to U.S. customers? The site just says available 2023. That is a weird thing. Like I have to say, like it was weird that it went away for a little bit, but it's been gone for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. I mean, what do you think? What do you think is going on behind the scenes? Are they waiting for the Highland? Are they?
That was our biggest suspicion, but I really don't know at this point. Yeah, the rear-wheel drive, like shorter range, one in Canada, we suspect is LFP cells, and probably Tesla is not really looking forward to releasing that in the US just because you don't get access to the federal tax credit, or at least not the full one. So maybe they're not going forward with that. But yeah, I'm all for like you just make everything available everywhere and let the customer decide what they want to go with. Like this, I think that's the best approach.
All right. T9 says, question: what if Tesla's market cap would the same as Toyota's? Would you consider this as a success? Would investors consider it a success?
Well, I think the market cap needs to go down to be the same as Toyota right
Right.
now. So, I mean, I don't personally. I wouldn't compare Tesla to Toyota anyway. Like I think
Yeah.
it's
Batteries,
too
different
different
business.
of a company at this point. Not just like the energy storage front and everything, which is going to be that alone is going to be bigger than Toyota at some point soon. Um, but also the fact that like all the servicing is Tesla, all the supercharger, these are all businesses by themselves and everything. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't compare Tesla and Toyota really.
All right. Question: do you think there will be any push for smaller EVs or EV batteries due to the excess weight? That parking garage collapse in New York City is ominous. In other words, less Ford Lightnings, more Bolts.
Yeah, I saw that, and I saw some people linking that to electric vehicles, but I didn't see anything serious about that. Like, it's not an active theory for people involved, is it?
No, I mean,
Yeah, okay,
obviously, electric vehicles are typically heavier than
correct. Yeah.
so. If they're 30% heavier and a whole parking garage is full of them, It's 30%
Yeah,
more
but
weight.
I would assume that the engineers involved in designing that are architects, or they go for way over 30% capacity buffer, I would assume. But to your question, though, I think we need smaller EVs, and that is just we're at a time in the market right now where it's still so early for electric vehicles, well, relatively early for electric vehicles, where we still need to get the public perception on board. That's why you get the super long range still and everything, because people need to see electric vehicle as being no compromise vehicle and as good or better than gasoline vehicle, because the vast majority of human beings don't make decision for the environment. They make decision for themselves, and there's no product that there's a small percentage of population that do that. So if you are one of them, like, kudos to you, you're a better human than me. But most people, they don't do that. It's an economic decision, it's a comfort decision, it's all for that, and you need electric vehicles to not be a compromise. And so that's why I think we still need right now those longer range EV and everything. But yeah, long term, once we're past that, I think there's going to be a market for like a smaller range vehicles. Yeah, for sure, more efficient too.
Yeah, I love my Bolt.
Mhm.
All right. Brad, would you expect Europe Tesla prices to follow the USA next week, as happened over the last few months?
Yeah, if honestly, if Tesla can get away without them, they're gonna do it. So it all depends on. But I think the thing is with Tesla buyers specifically, they are smart enough to follow the news where like they know that price cuts happen in Europe. So I think that Tesla kind of shoots himself in the foot with that, where um, they a lot of people are going to wait for Tesla to do those price cuts, because they know the price cut happen in the US. So the demand will go down because of that, and they will have to lower the price, I would think.
Yeah, people are certainly waiting for it.
Yeah.
All right, Greg Poland, this is something I've been thinking about. Does Tesla give a higher trade-in value for cars with FSD versus without FSD, or would it be better to sell to a private buyer? I
They
know
say they do.
they say they do, but what is the difference? It's not
Yeah.
15,000 for
I
sure.
would be. It should be.
It should be.
It should be 15,000. I would be shocked if it is, though.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, why wouldn't it be?
if you're selling your car soon, if someone listening is selling their Tesla soon and you have FSD, I'd be curious to see what Tesla quotes you for the car. And if if you don't have FSD, send us your quote too if you Tesla, so we can compare, because maybe Tesla won't tell you the quote for without. They won't necessarily put the value of FSD in it. Actually, I know they wouldn't, because it would be too easy then to
Right.
compare. So yeah, if you don't have FSD and you're getting your car trade into, let us know what Tesla quotes you so we can compare.
Yeah, I mean, do they have an online like, if you're doing a trade-in?
Yeah, they might actually.
I wonder if you have to enter your
No, you have to have a VIN if you do that. So
right.
I mean, we would have to do.
We would
Well,
just have to have two VINs of the
yeah,
same
that
everything.
that matches, one without FSD, one with.
Right. All right. Shane O'Sullivan, not sure if this happened in North America yet, but the new diesel cars in Europe are only around 15% less expensive than electric equivalents.
At the sticker price.
I'm assuming.
That's actually surprising, because diesel sales have been going down in Europe a lot over the
Yeah, I
last
don't
few
know why you
years.
would buy
So
a diesel car.
yeah,
Like,
so
there's zero good things about it besides,
I would think
you
the
know,
value of them would go down if the demand goes down. But
right. All right. Last thing from Shane. Any thoughts on Project Highland being more than a facelift, i.e., move to LFP on long range, 800 volt, and vehicle to load, or just a regular facelift? I think all those things are possible, but we haven't heard anything specific, have we?
yeah, I think it's more than a facelift in terms of, I think Tesla's going to introduce larger casting parts and things like that. Maybe structural battery pack. Not sure. 800-volt vehicle to what's V2L? Is vehicle to everything? Is it
Vehicle to load.
to
It's
load? Okay.
they need to
Uh,
figure out.
yeah. Um, not impossible, like you said, but not on top of not highly likely in my own opinion.
All right, Mark Webb, what is the take rate on the round steering wheel versus yoke? Now we're getting a lot
Tesla
of.
just switched to default being the round now
Oh,
from the
interesting.
yoke
That's a
today.
big deal, actually.
Yeah, so I would assume that the take rate is higher on the round than the yoke at this
Yeah,
point.
they're walking it back.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
there might be some pent up demand though from
Right.
people that didn't want the yoke, and now so maybe I don't know.
Do you think that Tesla will ever add directional haptic feedback in the driver's seat to let you know if something you need to pay attention to? It's the best feature in my wife's Yukon.
Oh, never experienced that actually, so I would have to see
Yeah,
what
some
it looks
cars
like.
also do like a vibrate, like Chevys will do a vibrating seat, like if you're going over the lane or
Hmm.
it'll like buzz.
So that's what he's talking about, probably.
Uh, yes, to the
Haptic
seat, but yeah,
feedback at the seat level.
oh yeah, I guess Yukon's also Chevy.
Yeah.
Um, that would be cool, I guess. Kind of weird though. Especially it kind of simulates the feeling of going over when there's like bumps on the
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. And Tesla does that with the steering wheel, right? There's like a, or am I thinking of another car?
I don't
No,
think there's vibration in the steering wheel.
all right, I'm thinking of something else. All right, Peter Nelius, if range isn't a concern, not road tripping, which SUV model would you recommend overall today? ID.4, EV6, Model Y, Mach-E. Try to balance tech with reliability and practicality. I'm going to probably say probably EV6.
AV6 would be my second choice, I think. Though he said SUV, AV6 is barely an SUV in my
Yeah,
opinion. Um, I would have to go at Model Y at this kind of pricing. Like the 4680 Model Y at $46,000
yeah, that's
before
a pretty good price.
incentive. That's hard to beat. You don't get the tax credit on the EV6, do you?
That's true. You get
Uh,
maybe half. Actually, I don't think you get anything.
no, it's not built in the US or
Right.
North America. ID4 is not bad, but at that price, uh, yeah, Model Y. I like the Mackie a lot too, though. Mackie is fun. Is fun, but again, at that price, I would have to go Model Y. It's the safest choice, I think.
Yeah. And then you get things like the Supercharger network.
Yeah, that's a big deal. But you said no road tripping.
That's right. But I mean, Supercharger network's also nice for hanging out in the city for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Oberste says humans by square footage are heavier than cars, even EVs. Live load calculations for buildings where people may occupy or design to carry areas full of people. Cars are not a problem. Uh,
That's interesting.
I mean,
If
that's
that's true, that's very
pretty
interesting.
tight though. Like,
Yeah, can you pack like if you pack? Yeah, you need to be packed pretty tight to compare to
yeah,
a car. Like a car is like four
I
thousand
don't think
pounds
people
sometimes. Right?
congregate in that kind of density
Yeah,
unless you're at a show or something.
yeah.
And then last question, Apple Car for WWDC. I think that's Apple Car probably not going to be shown. WWDC this year is probably going to be about the VR headset, I think. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
we'll see.
Is there any rumors on when the car? Like is that 2025? I think.
I
Something
mean, it
like
always gets pushed back a year.
that? Oh,
It's I don't know what are, the latest one is like 2026 or something.
okay. But I didn't know that the virtual headset was coming soon. Take a look at that.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, thanks. If you're still listening right now, you're a real one. You're true AV nerds, and we appreciate you a lot because we've been running a little bit late because we have a lot of news this week and a lot of questions too. And we appreciate every one of you that has questioned this week. Thank you a lot. If you do enjoy the show, you can give us a thumbs up and a subscribe right now. That helps the show. If you're listening on your podcast app right now after the fact, if you can give us a 5-star review on your podcast app, that also helps the show tremendously. And we got a few ones last week. We read them too. Appreciate you a lot for that. And we're going to see you same time.